Hey everybody, welcome to the second half of Truth Tuesday, coming over from Lisa's channel. Glad to have you guys jumping on, or jumping over here from there.
Coming over to Sean's channel.
Yes. Good to see everybody. All right. Halftime. Yeah, we do. We have two halves. We should have a halftime show in between.
Oh, Lord.
Person, turquoise, waving person, turquoise, waving person, turquoise, waving. All right. I know he's using emojis and they don't translate in the system over here on the chat. So, I don't know. That's Hawaii is a big deal, a huge deal. Nobody talks about Oprah that much, but
Nor should they.
did you know that she hired a bunch of private firefighters the day before the fire? Or 2 days before? Isn't that interesting? Why is not one reporter asking her why? Why did you hire a bunch of firefighters days before a fire that no one knew about? I mean, you can talk about all the other conspiracy things and the melted engine blocks and all that, but that's something you can't get around. I don't know why no one has said why. Why? Just give any kind of reason. Really?
What are the odds of that?
Hi, Tommy. I'm down the road from you. That's cool. No firemen were injured at all. I didn't even think about that either. One of the worst fires and not one, no injuries.
Is that true?
That is weird. I don't know.
I thought I had heard firemen were injured, but now I'm questioning it because Gazoo usually.
I think that it would have been reported, talked about. Anything to distract from like all these questions, and the people. Okay, the people there are the ones who are saying a lot of the crazy stuff. To say it's crazy is really saying I'm kind of fallen into the trap. The conspiracy theories and the outlandish things, most outlandish things people are saying, are people that were there. So like everyone that complains about, oh, that's racist, or oh, that's you should. They're never that group. It's like, I never had black people tell me, hey man, don't say that. That offends me. Don't. And if they did, I would put a lot more stock in it than, some white Karen telling me, oh, you can't say that. Because it's the actual people that are affected. And the people that were there and that live in Maui that survived it are the ones who are asking the questions and saying, this is weird. Why did this happen? There was these people, they were looking at these cars that were completely melted and scorched. And they didn't say anything about this, but I was thinking about it. All around this area, there's nothing. Like 3 feet from the burn mark is a wooden fence that isn't charred, or there's nothing in it. It's literally like there's a line where you can see. And the heat from that would have done something to the wood, but they were showing this car and how the glass was melted, right? Like so they're like, this is like a super. So literally, there's a car here where it's so hot that the glass melted, windshield, the back windshield, front windshield melted. But 10 feet from that is a wooden fence that was not touched, or nothing wrong with it. That's not possible. If you've ever gone to like a rock concert, just a pyrotechnic, you'll feel it 50 rows back hit you in the face. This melted glass and steel. But then they went around and they're like, what's that smell? And there was a dead cat in the engine. Like, how cats go into parked cars and sleep and stuff. There was a dead cat in the car. And they were like, oh, that's so sad. There's someone's pet, blah, blah, blah. And then that was it. And I thought about it.
They talked about the dead animals' bodies too. That there was something like where the bodies like boiled inside and then
Well, but
oozed out. They didn't like burn
this is
from
what
the
I wanted to say.
outside.
So there's a dead cat in the engine that probably went in there to sleep. If there's a grass fire moving slowly, that cat's going to get out of the car. The cat's not going to stay in the car when it sees fire coming underneath it. It would get out. So to me, that was like, that had to be hit instantaneously. And while the cat was in
did
there,
you see the DEWs on the .gov website? There's a .gov website that explains it all. That shows the DEWs. Let me see.
Yeah, water vaporized.
I mean, they admit it.
That's the point, Tom. So many things defy physics, and
it's not. Well, it's not. No, they admit it. They admit that they have these weapons.
Right.
They admit
that
it's military.
Not that they were used. You know, like if I make you spaghetti and I give it to you, and you're like, "This is disgusting. This is so salty. You must have put a whole thing of salt in this. Oh, this is gross." And then everyone else says the same thing, and I say, "No, I didn't use salt in it at all. No salt." You're like, no, that defies the fact that it's very salty. Look, there's salt. I can see it. It's not even dissolved. It's crunchy. There's salt in this. No, never used salt. I have salt. I admit that salt exists. I have salt here, but I didn't use it in there. That's the point. When you talk about defying physics, they're saying this was, of course, there was no DEW weapon. I mean, we have them, but there's no DEW weapon. If you have two people locked in a room and you go in there and one of them is shot dead, you like, hey, you shot this guy. No, it wasn't me. Do you have a gun? Well, we have a gun, but I didn't shoot that guy. Okay. Yeah, sure. No, that defies logic and physics. So anyway, but yeah, I thought that was really interesting about the Oprah thing. Just certain questions that it really shows how the media is just a propaganda arm for corporations, for government, for whatever. But they don't report the facts. They don't search for the truth anymore. Which Superman would be very sad. And he would not have chosen that path now for his secret identity, I'm sure. Yeah, I was talking about something with because everyone's talking about, oh, there's this drought, Lake Mead is going down, and they're talking about like people in my area, in the this little town over, they're not going to have water because the lake has dropped, and this didn't make sense to me, but it's what they say. The lake dropped to a level where the pipe isn't in the water anymore to suck the water out to give water to the town. And I was like, well, then they could just weld on another pipe or extend it. And my cousin said, no, they said they can't do that because it's a special pipe that they haven't had for, 50 years and since they made it. And I'm like, they can get another pipe. It doesn't make sense. Nope, they're going to run out of water. So I thought that was weird. But then I said, why can't they just, like these big areas like Lake Mead or places that have serious drought, why can't they just, make rain? That's what they're doing in the Middle East. They're transforming, they're terraforming, like Star Trek. The Middle East and China, same thing. They admitted to it, and they said it's easy. Like I've always said, it's easy to control the weather. When I was a kid, it was science fiction, but they said, like scientists said, oh, we can't do that because we would have to have lasers, which we don't have, and we have to have satellites, equipped to superheat clouds and do. It's like all that stuff is common, is easiness. Anyway, but that's a thing, Phil. Like I said about the cat, it would have to be an instantaneous thing where the cat's in the engine just sleeping, and then within a second, it's incinerated. The car is incinerated. If there was a brush fire coming towards the cat, it would have run out and run away. It's a cat, it has reflexes like a cat. So I just thought that was weird. This is something I wanted to. I was talking. I'm going to put this in the private chat so you can pull it up, Lisa. You don't have to, but you go ahead and pull it up. It's not sound. I talk about how you can something is so blatant, and you can show someone where they can see it, and some people are not looking to know the truth.
Are you wanting me to share it?
Yeah.
Instead of you sharing it? Okay.
They want some kind of propaganda so they can have an excuse. And this is breaking. The CDC has stated that Americans who have received the mRNA COVID vaccines are now at a higher risk of infection from the new variants of the virus than those who are unvaccinated. So, like to me, it's like, oh, that's it. I used to post so many things like, so this is it, right? So this has been found out. Like you used to say, oh, so many things are being, exposed. And I used to be like, oh, here it is. This is it, right? This is when it's over. Oh, this is what makes everyone get it. Oh, this is it. It's nothing.
No, because Karen Jean-Pierre is talking out of the other side of her mouth at the press briefings. It doesn't matter what they print because they say something else publicly.
This is the CDC saying this.
It doesn't matter.
And that they're trust the science. It's this? They're saying it. I mean, if you show people, remember Beatles used to say, "Here's a box of masks." Here on the box it says, "Doesn't help with, this virus." Right. It literally says on the box it doesn't work. And people are just like, no, well, it couldn't hurt, whatever. Just make up some excuse to obey and to not wake up. So it's like,
yeah.
I think the people, and a lot of things were exposed, a lot of conspiracy theories or conspiracy facts. And I think whoever's awake is awake, and whoever's not, they're not, man. They want to be where they are. They want to believe what they believe because they don't want to see the truth. That's it.
Yeah. Well, cognitive dissonance is a real thing. It is very true, and people choose reality, their own reality, and they choose, the no, la, 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 I cannot hear it, is a real thing.
But I think part of that is because people, and we've talked about this, that people have given up responsibility. Like no one has to take responsibility. But if you can blame society, or you can blame a certain part of society, which is even better, then no one takes responsibility for anything, and they don't take responsibility for themselves to be a good parent, a good citizen, a good daughter, a good son. If you go along with all this and you don't stand up because you don't want your parents to have, these problems. I gave in because I couldn't stand to see my family hurting and stressed out. And I was doing it by not getting vaccinated. 100%. I was standing on what I thought was right. And my family was being hurt. And my son was screaming at my grandson, "Don't hug your granddad. He'll die. We can't risk it. No, stay back. I'm going to hold you because I'm not letting you get down because you'll run and hug your granddad." that's what I was living. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll take Johnson and Johnson, the one shot. I've never had a booster, but I had these heart problems. I was in the hospital for 2 months, and literally 2 doctors and 4 nurses said, "Oh yeah, it's from you getting the shot." And I've been big my life. I've been fat my life. I've been a fat athlete. I've been a fat lazy person. I was a chunky kid. I was just big. I've been great shape. I've always been huge. I literally am big boned, and I've never had a heart problem. I've never had a problem. It was always like surprising, like, oh, your blood pressure is really good. My blood pressure is still good. But it's this weird arterial fibrillation, and literally 2 doctors like, oh yeah, that's what it's from, most likely. Never had any problems, never had anything. Yeah, that's probably what it is. We've seen a huge, huge up spike. And then nurses were like, yep, yeah, we've seen a lot of that. It's probably what it was. And it doesn't matter. Literally, I'm sure my kids feel guilty because, they're like, if a doctor says that, I heard a doctor say, and my kids are like in the system, part of the system, but I've done enough to where they're kind of open-minded. They trust the science. So I would take them to the doctor, and my doctor would be like, oh yeah, this, that, blah, blah. Now I had my doctor who retired, because we asked him about the vaccine. He told them because they were like, I couldn't get an appointment to get the Johnson & Johnson, which was a real vaccine. It wasn't the experimental RNA one. And he said, your dad's right. He goes, this is a traditional vaccine. The other one does rewrite your stuff. And, if you're against abortion or whatever, the aborted fetus from whenever it was used to make this, blah, blah, blah. And, but like my kids go there, he'll talk to them and he'll say things about, the devil or, attacks by demons or whatever. And, that's what they tell their friends, like, oh, that doctor's just crazy. Like, just, forget about him. But he was a good doctor. He was on top of everything. And he was always honest. With the ivermectin thing, he told my kids and told me, he's like, no, we used it for years. He said it's not just for horses. It's like, you give a Tylenol to your dog. It's the same thing. It gives, it alleviates the pain. But my son will literally tell me, oh, you can take and get animal antibiotics and other things that are like a third of the price. And he knows of people that do that because it's the same medicine. But when you're talking about ivermectin or stuff like that, that all of a sudden, oh, that's crazy.
But there are studies that they got like Nobel prizes and stuff using it.
But I thought it was very funny that literally the CDC is saying, oh, if you got that, not that it won't work, that it's worse. It's worse.
Oh, I think they're gonna out Big Mike. There's jokes around that the whole 17th letter thing, like D before C or the D class before C, could be Big Mike's D being exposed.
Okay, I think you're talking about some dude named Big Mike and his penis. Big
yes.
Mike's D?
Obama, Big Mike Obama.
Oh.
I think they're gonna out her.
Her?
Yeah.
I was thinking that too, and that's why the whole super trans acceptance and everything has been going for years. I think that's
because that's about to come out.
Like I've talked about since Area 51 when I was a kid. It's like a huge deal. It doesn't exist. You're stupid for saying it. You're crazy. They'll discredit you if you're a scientist and said you work there. And then slowly it's in movies, it's everywhere, and then it's a joke. And then once it's a joke and it's accepted, then they're like, oh yeah, it's here, and nobody was mad. Nobody was shocked and offended that the government lied to us. No one was like freaked out. The thing about aliens, they talked about UFOs for like the past couple of years. Everything's like slowly talked about. First, and then it's a joke, and then they come out and they go, "Yes, the dude said we have biological aliens, and I'm terrified of the technology and the things that I've seen that they can do." The dude said, "I'm terrified," and no one cares.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they slowly make it this accepted. So I was thinking that because everyone's talking about Michael,
I'm seeing a lot of
and I think
Michael
that
stuff.
now would be the time where it would be
Mm-hmm.
the most acceptable. So I don't know.
I think she had something to do with the chef's death.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like there's so many weird things, and it's like just why? Why was he naked? Why was
Right.
just why? There's so many things, but no one's asking.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cayenne pepper's
There's a
hot
lot.
to me. It's hotter than other peppers. It's weird. All right, what else? Did you send me some stuff?
I sent you some other stuff.
I thought was interesting.
Oh, there's so much going on.
$6 billion.
Yeah, we talked
The
about
troops
that.
in the Michigan drills.
Yes, supposedly like some like kind of like militia-ish were kind of making statements kind of alluding to the fact that in Virginia too, saying that like we're going to be seeing the military soon, but more like National Guard kind of thought, or
Well, it said that
I'm not really sure.
this what I read that I thought was offensive as fuck. Is that there's Taiwanese soldiers that were training, but we're not having the military, the army train
Oh, yes,
as not to offend China.
yes.
We're having our National Guard
National
train,
Guard train them.
which why, if we're training, helping an ally, why anything with our military do we consider China's feelings in on our own soil?
Well, because I mean, Hillary's been selling us to China for years, and Biden too.
See how
I
I just asked
mean,
a question about why something is so obviously offensive and blah blah blah, and you're literally answering me like, "Oh, because it's normal because of this and this." No,
yeah,
this is not okay. This is not allowed.
but it's the truth.
Yeah, but this is what needs to stop. We need to be angry and not. It's not. Why? Oh, because Hillary. No, this is wrong. The reason for it is that Hillary's not in jail. Is that people haven't been prosecuted for the things they've done.
Well, I think it's just being shown to everyone. I don't think that's still happening. So, but I'm saying that out loud.
Well, but
Part.
we're doing that we're doing it for China. We're not wanting to offend them. I mean, on our own soil, we're training an ally, a very important one when it comes to. They're like the second biggest producer of microchips. There's the tech when it comes to tech. You've got Silicon Valley, you've got whatchamacallit in China, and you've got Taiwan. These are huge like hubs. If we lose Taiwan, things are going to be real bad. Also, I wanted to talk about this TED talk I watched. And the guy was talking about. We could do this next week though, but he was talking about how there's always been like two powers. We had the United States and you had Soviet Union, and now it changed to just one military power, which is the United States for the past like 10 years, 20 years. But there was a secondary power set up, and it was economic. and there was three. There was, you know, the East, the United States, and Europe, and so that was three different groups that were controlling the power for that. But he said that now we've come to a part where tech companies have so much power that there's a third group that controls the world, and that's the tech industry and tech companies.
Wow.
And he was talking about how certain things could affect other groups, like when it comes to, you know, economics, and then when it comes to actual military, that yeah, it's a really weird time to
I
be.
could see that because it is like an information war.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why Trump came out with Space Force and all that, because that really was, you know,
Well, he
where
was
the
talking
war
about
was being
like the
played
war in
out.
Ukraine. So the war in Ukraine's a perfect place. Like you can look at all the technological military stuff, but without the tech industry and like even social media, they would shut it down. Like Ukraine wouldn't have had a hope in hell. Everything, and you know, he was talking about how like Elon Musk and all the Starlinks and all that. But if these tech companies weren't involved in this military action, that it would have changed the landscape dramatically. So he was talking about how they're very interconnected, how they have an actual big control over the military. So I thought it was a very interesting thing. We talk about it next week.
That would be great. Yeah, I need to watch it and catch up so I can.
Yeah, I'll send you the TED Talk. It's only like 12 minutes or 15 minutes, but it's really, really.
Okay, I'll post it in the
That's a whole nother thing.
Team Mighty Telegram group.
There's so many children missing. And that's nothing. Like, where do they go? No one asked that. The number it's not like a small number, you know? It's like adults are going missing. And then you can blame the aliens, I guess. It's just the kids.
Kids have been missing for years, and people look the other way. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is a significant number of children from just one place, and so that's where it's like glaring. But we should have been asking for a very long time. There's supposed to be a National Geographic documentary coming out about the tribal children, or Native children that have been missing over the years, and I can't wait for that to come out and people to be held accountable.
That is terrible, terrible cheating. That's just awful. All right. That's scary to think of. That are, you know, thing with the aliens and all that. And their children are the veal. That's creepy. All right. I love you guys. It was good hanging out. I thank you for being a trooper and pushing through there, Lisa. I appreciate it. All right. Love y'all.